He had been gone for 5 years, 3 months, and 11 days. He counted, not obsessively, or rather, not only obsessively, not only in the specific compulsive way of the person whose captivity has produced a specific need to mark time as a specific only available form of control. He counted because the specific counting was the specific honest accounting of what had been taken from him, and he was a man who believed in the specific honest accounting of the specific things taken. His name was Alexander. He had been a captain in the Polish army. Captured in September 1939 in the specific first weeks of the specific German invasion that had destroyed the specific Polish military faster than the specific Polish military or the specific Polish allies had believed possible. He had spent the following 5 years in change in a sequence of prisoner of war camps. First German, then, after a transfer that resulted from the specific political negotiations of the specific war's middle years, Soviet, moving through the specific geography of the specific captivity, with the specific gradual accumulation of the specific experience of the person who has been removed from the specific world, and who is being kept in the specific substitute world of the specific camp. He survived. Not everyone did. The specific camps he passed through had their specific mortality rates, and the specific mathematics of the specific mortality meant that some of the specific men who had gone into captivity with him did not come out. He came out. He carried the specific knowledge of the specific men who had not, the specific faces, the specific last conversations, the specific particular people who had become the specific particular friends in the specific conditions of the specific long captivity, and who had not survived those conditions, with the specific weight of the specific survivor, who knows that the specific survival was not the specific deserved outcome, but simply the specific outcome. He was released in the autumn of 1945, when the specific combination of the war's end and the specific political settlements of the specific post-war period produced a specific release that the specific conventions of the specific prisoner of war protocols required. He came home, except that home was not there. Before I tell you the specific full story of what Alexander found when he returned to the specific place he had come from, I want to ask you directly. Subscribe and share this episode. The specific displaced persons of the specific post-war Europe, the specific people whose specific countries have been redrawn, renamed, reassigned, or simply erased by the specific political geography of the specific settlement, were one of the largest and least fully acknowledged human consequences of the specific war. Subscribe and hit the like button. Back to Alexander. Back to the man who came home to a country that no longer existed. The specific political geography that produced Alexander's situation. The specific redrawing of the specific Polish borders at Yalta and Potsdam is worth understanding in its full human scale before the specific story can be placed within it. The decision taken by Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin at Yalta in February 1945 to shift Poland westward, to compensate Poland for the loss of its eastern territories to the Soviet Union by granting it formerly German territories in the West, was presented at the time and has been debated ever since as a specific pragmatic settlement of the specific overwhelming power differential that the specific position of the Soviet army on the ground in Eastern Europe in February 1945 had produced. The Soviet army was already in Poland. Stalin had his specific facts on the ground. The specific boundaries he proposed were the specific boundaries he was going to enforce regardless of what the specific other parties at the specific table decided. And Churchill and Roosevelt knew this, and the specific settlement they agreed to was the specific settlement that acknowledged that specific reality. What the settlement produced, in human terms, was a specific displacement of an estimated 14 million people across Central and Eastern Europe. The specific Germans expelled from the specific territories transferred to Poland. The specific Poles expelled from or unable to return to the specific territories transferred to the Soviet Union. The specific Ukrainians and Belarusians who found themselves on the specific wrong side of the specific new lines. The specific largest forced displacement in European history, accomplished not by a single dramatic event, but by the specific ongoing movement of the specific millions of specific people who were following specific new lines to find the specific new place where they now belonged. Alexander was one of the 14 million, not the most dramatically displaced. He had not been forcibly expelled, not marched to a new location at gunpoint, not placed in a displaced person's camp. He had simply come home from captivity to discover that home had migrated during his absence, moved itself across a newly drawn line, and into a different country, and that the specific geography of his own specific life had been reassigned to a different state without his knowledge or consent while he was a prisoner. He was one of the luckier ones, in the specific sense that the word lucky can carry in this context. He had his specific training. He had the specific health, impaired by the captivity, but sufficient. He found the specific work in Warsaw, and the specific Maria in Warsaw, and the specific children in the specific Warsaw life. He built the specific substitute life that the specific redrawn map had required of him, and the specific substitute life became, over a specific 50 years, the specific actual life, the specific real and genuine and complete life that the specific Warsaw represented. But it was never Lwów, and the specific not being Lwów was the specific thing that the specific Warsaw, for all its specific realness, was never able to fully address. This is a specific form of the specific loss that exile produces in the specific person who has lost not a relationship or a person but a place, a specific city, a specific geography, a specific world that existed in a particular way at a particular time, and that can never be revisited in that form because the form itself is gone. Lwów was still there, technically, but the specific Lwów that Alexander had carried in his memory for 5 years in the specific camps, the specific Polish Lwów of the specific 1930s, with the specific streets and the specific smells and the specific sounds and the specific particular people and the specific particular life, that specific Lwów had ceased to exist independently of the specific geographic relocation. The city had survived. The world inside the city had not. Maria understood this. She was, as noted, from Krakow, which had remained in Poland, and was therefore still accessible to her in a way that Lwów was not accessible to Alexander, but she had her own version of the specific loss. Her specific family home in Krakow had been occupied during the war, and then returned in a condition that made the specific return more complicated than the specific simple homecoming it might have been. She had returned to Krakow in 1945 and had found the specific apartment change in the specific ways that 5 years of different occupants changed the space, and she had understood, standing in the specific doorway of the specific apartment, that the specific place she had remembered and the specific place she was standing in were the specific same address, but not the specific same place. The specific place she remembered existed only in her memory now. And the specific memory, however vivid, was not the specific substitute for the specific thing itself. She moved to Warsaw rather than staying in Krakow for the specific practical reasons of the specific reconstruction economy that was concentrating skilled workers in the specific capital. She did not mourn this. She had already understood, standing in the doorway of her Krakow apartment, that the specific geography of the specific life she was going to live was going to be the specific geography of the specific future rather than the specific geography of the specific past, and that the specific grief of the specific past, real, valid, deserving of acknowledgement, was not the specific same thing as the specific refusal to inhabit the specific future. She brought this understanding with her to Warsaw and eventually to Alexander, and it was, by every account of the people who knew them in those years, the specific thing that had made it possible for Alexander himself to fully inhabit the specific Warsaw life, rather than spending it entirely in the specific, waiting for a return that was never going to come. She had already processed the specific recognition that the specific geographic loss required, the specific understanding that the specific place in memory and the specific place on the map were the specific two different things, and that the specific grief of the specific first did not prevent the specific building of the specific real life in the specific second. She had done this work herself. She could help him do it. He did the work. It took years. It was never entirely finished. The specific photographs on the kitchen table in 1992 are the specific evidence of how much of the specific Lwów was still present in him 47 years after the specific September of 1939 had taken away. But he did the specific work of inhabiting the specific Warsaw life rather than treating the specific Warsaw life as the specific waiting room for the specific return that would not come, and the specific completion of that specific work was, by his daughter's account, the specific most important thing Maria had given him, more important even than the specific 2 children and the specific 49 years of the specific marriage. She helped him live where he actually was. That was a specific gift. Poland in 1945 was not the Poland of 1939. This is a statement of such vast understatement that it requires immediate amplification before it can do justice to what it actually meant for the specific people it describes. The Poland of 1939 had been a specific country with specific borders that had been established by the specific Treaty of Versailles and the specific subsequent negotiations of the specific post-war period following the First World War. It had specific cities: Lwów in the east, Wilno in the northeast, Gdansk in the north, whose names and whose populations and whose cultural identities were the specific Polish identities that the specific Poles who lived in them had been living inside for generations. It had a specific geography and a specific demography and a specific particular way of being a country that the specific people who had grown up in it had taken as the specific given of the specific world. The Poland of 1945 was a different country in the specific, most literal possible sense. It occupied a different piece of the specific European map. The specific Yalta and Potsdam agreements had shifted Poland westward. The specific eastern territories, including Lwów and Wilno, had been transferred to the Soviet Union, and the specific western territories, taken from Germany, had been added to compensate. The specific borders had been redrawn. The specific cities had changed hands, and the specific populations who had lived in the specific old territories found themselves, without moving in different countries, or found themselves, having moved during the specific chaos of the specific war, unable to return to the specific places they had come from, because those specific places were now in the Soviet Union rather than in Poland. Alexander had come from Lwów. Lwów was now Lvov. Then, within a few more years, Lviv, it was in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. It was not in Poland. The specific apartment where Alexander had grown up, where his parents had lived, where he had been a child and then a young man, and then a military officer before the specific September of 1939, had taken everything away, was in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and was inaccessible to him in every practical sense. He could not return. He would never return. The specific place he had spent 5 years dreaming of returning to was now, by the specific act of specific political settlement, conducted by the specific men at the specific tables in Yalta and Potsdam, a place he was not permitted to go. This is a specific form of the specific loss that this episode is about, and it deserves to be understood in its full weight before the specific story can be told. Alexander had lost 5 years to captivity. He had survived. He had come home, and home, the specific concrete place, was gone, not destroyed, not bombed, not erased in the way that specific bomb cities are erased. It was still there. The apartment was still there. The streets he had grown up on were still there. Everything was there, completely intact and completely inaccessible, because the specific lines on the specific maps had been redrawn by the specific people who had the specific power to redraw them, and the specific redrawing had placed a specific home on the specific wrong side of the specific new line. The specific 5 years of captivity, the specific thing that had been taken from Alexander before the specific country had also been taken, deserves its own accounting, because the two losses were not separate. They were sequential, each making the other heavier. Alexander had been captured in the specific first weeks of the specific September 1939 invasion, before the specific Polish military had fully understood what was up against or had been able to mount the specific organized resistance that the specific later histories would document as both heroic and insufficient. He was captured, he said later, in the specific condition of the soldier who is overwhelmed rather than defeated, who is overwhelmed by the specific combination of the specific enemy's specific speed and the specific ally's specific failure to provide the specific promised support in the specific promised time. The French had not come. The British had not come. The German advance had been faster than the specific planning had assumed. He had been captured. The specific German camps came first. He described them in the memoir fragments that his daughter eventually assembled from his papers after his death, with the specific, precise, and restrained language of the specific person who has decided that the specific content of the specific experience is a specific private material, and that the specific public accounting requires a specific general frame rather than the specific detail. He was cold. He was hungry, in the specific way that the specific long hunger produces, not the specific acute hunger of the specific missed meal, but the specific chronic hunger of the specific person who has been insufficient for long enough that the specific insufficiency has become the specific normal condition. He worked. He maintained the specific discipline of the specific military man in the specific captivity, the specific making of the specific bed, the specific maintaining of the specific uniform, the specific performing of the specific physical exercises that the specific space permitted because the specific discipline was a specific available form of the specific control in the specific condition where the specific control was otherwise a specific entirely absent thing. He was transferred to Soviet custody in 1941 in the specific complicated movement of prisoners that the specific German-Soviet relationship of that period produced. The specific Soviet camps were different from the specific German camps in the specific ways that the specific different institutional logics of the specific different systems produced, the specific differences in the specific food and the specific work, and the specific conditions that the specific comparison would require the specific knowledge that Alexander had, and that he chose not to fully share. He said only that both were the specific conditions of the specific captivity, and that both required the specific management of the specific available resources, the specific physical resources of the specific body, the specific psychological resources of the specific person, in the specific ways that the specific available conditions permitted. He managed. He came out in 1945. He came home to the country that was no longer the country he had come from. The specific other Poles whose situations paralleled Alexander's, the specific thousands of Polish officers and soldiers who emerged from the specific Soviet camps in 1945 and who faced the specific same discovery that the specific country they had served had been geographically reassigned during their absence, represent one of the specific most poignant populations in the specific immediate post-war period. They had fought for Poland. They had endured captivity for Poland, or in Poland's name, or in the specific uniform of the specific Polish military that was supposed to represent the specific Polish nation. They emerged from that captivity to find that the specific Poland they had served had been the Poland of the specific previous map, and that the specific new map had produced a specific new Poland that was neither the specific country of the specific constitution they had sworn to defend nor the specific enemy that had captured them, but something in between, the specific complicated new entity of the specific post-war political settlement. Some of them refused to accept the new Poland's authority entirely and found their way to London, where the Polish government in exile continued to function as a specific symbolic continuation of the specific pre-war Polish state. Some of them stayed in Poland and built their lives within the specific communist system that was being established there. Some of them, like Alexander, stayed in Poland not because they fully accepted the specific system, but because the specific Poland was the specific closest available approximation of the specific home, and the specific approximation was more available than the specific alternative of the specific emigration to the specific West. Alexander's relationship to the communist Poland that governed his life from 1945 until its fall in 1989 was, by his own account, the specific relationship of the specific man who had chosen the specific practical over the specific ideal. He was not a communist. He was not enthusiastic about the specific system. He understood the specific system as the specific price of the specific staying, and he paid the specific price in the specific way of the specific pragmatic person who has decided that the specific staying is worth the specific price. He built apartment buildings in Warsaw. This is a specific thing that strikes the specific people who learn his story as a specific most clarifying detail of the specific life he built in the specific city he had not chosen. He spent his career constructing the specific permanent structures in the specific city that had not been his specific city, the specific buildings that would stand in the specific Warsaw for the specific future that the specific reconstruction was trying to produce. He was making Warsaw more permanent. He had lost his permanent place. He made the specific substitute place more permanent for the specific other people who lived there. There is something in this. The specific engineer whose specific home had been taken building the specific homes for specific others, that Alexander himself acknowledged in the specific, quiet way of the specific man who notices the specific ironies of the specific life without requiring them to be resolved. He noticed, he built, he raised his children in the specific city he had built parts of. He grew old there. His daughter found a specific apartment building in Lviv with her camera in 1992 and brought back the specific photographs. He looked at them. The park was smaller than he remembered, or he had been smaller. He died 5 years later, in Warsaw, having built a life in the specific city he had not chosen and having never returned to the specific city he had come from. The photographs are still in his daughter's keeping. The apartment building in Lviv is still standing. The park in Lviv is the same size it was in 1939. He went to Warsaw instead. Warsaw was still in Poland, the new Poland, the shifted Poland, the Poland that occupied a different piece of the map than the Poland he had been born in. Warsaw had been devastated during the war, particularly in the specific uprising of 1944 and the specific German destruction that followed it. It was in the specific process of reconstruction when Alexander arrived in late 1945, a city being rebuilt from rubble by the specific people who had survived and who were determining, one stone at a time, what the specific city was doing now that the specific war had finished destroying it. He found work as a civil engineer. His specific training before the war now applied to the specific reconstruction that Warsaw required. He found a room in a shared apartment. He found, slowly and with the specific difficulty of a specific person who was building a life in a city he had not chosen and whose specific streets held none of the specific memories that the specific streets of Lwów held, a version of a specific ordinary life. He also found, in 1947, a woman named Maria who had come from Krakow and who was also rebuilding in Warsaw, also an engineer, also displaced from the specific life she had been building before the specific war had taken apart. They found each other in the specific way that the specific people in the specific conditions of the specific reconstruction find each other, through the specific shared work of the specific rebuilding, through the specific recognition of the specific person who understands a specific particular kind of loss without needing explained, because they are carrying the specific same kind of loss themselves. They married in 1948. They built a life in Warsaw. They had 2 children, born in 1949 and 1952, who grew up in the specific Warsaw of the specific post-war Poland, the rebuilt city, the communist Poland, the specific country that was simultaneously the specific continuation of the specific Poland and the specific entirely different entity that the specific post-war political geography had produced. The children grew up Polish in the specific new sense of the specific new Poland, carrying only their parents' accounts of the specific old sense of the specific old Poland that had included Lwów and Wilno and the specific geography that the specific lines had taken away. Alexander never went back to Lwów. He could not, for the specific political reasons of the specific Cold War period. And then when the specific period changed and the specific go became technically possible, he found that the specific possibility of the specific going had arrived too late. He was in his 70s by the time the Soviet Union began to dissolve. He was in his early 80s when Lwów became Lviv and when a Polish citizen could, with the specific documentation and the specific permissions, travel there. He had begun by then to have the specific health difficulties of the specific very old man, and the specific travel was the specific more difficult thing. His daughter made the trip in 1992, the year after Ukraine became independent. She went to Lwów, to Lviv, for her father, carrying a list of the specific addresses he had given her and a camera and the specific instruction to bring back photographs of whatever she could find of the specific places he had described. She found the specific apartment building. It was still standing, one of the specific buildings that had survived the specific war intact. She photographed it from every angle. She photographed the specific street. She photographed the specific park he had described walking through as a child, the specific church whose specific bells he had mentioned in the specific long conversations they had had about the specific Lwów that existed only in his memory and in the specific old photographs he had kept. She brought the photographs back to Warsaw. She spread them on the kitchen table in front of him. He looked at them for a long time without speaking. Then he said, "The park is smaller than I remembered. Or I was smaller. Probably I was smaller." He died in 1997. He had never returned to Lwów. The photographs are in his daughter's keeping. The apartment building in Lviv is still standing. The park is the same size it was in 1939, or nearly. That is a specific form of this particular loss. Not the dramatic loss of the specific destroyed city, but the specific more disorienting loss of the specific intact city that is also the specific permanently inaccessible city, present in the world and absent from the life simultaneously, the way the specific most painful losses sometimes are. The specific country he had been born in was gone. The specific place he had come from was still there, Both things were true, and the specific gap between the two truths was a specific gap that Alexander had lived inside for 50 years, between the specific September of 1939 and the specific 1997 when he died. He counted the days of his captivity. He rebuilt a life in a city he had not chosen. He raised 2 children who knew his woe only from his stories and his old photographs. He never went back. His daughter went for him. That is enough. That is the full accounting of the war prisoner who came home to a country that no longer existed. The specific children, Alexander and Maria's 2 children, born into the Warsaw of the Reconstruction, grew up carrying their parents' woe in Krakow as the specific mythology of the specific family's origin, the specific places that the specific war had taken, and that existed now only in the specific stories the specific parents told. The older child, a son named Stanislav, grew up with his father's woe in a specific way that children grow up with the specific mythological geography of the specific family, as a specific orienting point, the specific place that everything else is measured against, present in every specific mention, and every specific old photograph, and every specific story about the specific things that had been there and were gone. He became, his sister later said, the specific child who most closely resembled his father in the specific most telling way. He became an engineer. He built buildings in Warsaw as his father had built buildings in Warsaw, adding his own specific structures to the specific city that neither of them had been born in and that both of them had made the specific primary context of the specific lives. The younger child, a daughter named Zofia, took a different path. She became a historian. Specifically, a historian of the specific borderland territories of the specific Central European region, the specific contested lands where the specific different national identities had overlapped and conflicted and been reassigned by the specific political settlements of the specific 20th century. She said, in an interview she gave after her father's death, that she had come to her specific subject not through the specific academic interest of the specific scholarly vocation, but through the specific personal interest of the specific child who had grown up hearing her father describe a city that was not available on the specific maps, and who had needed, eventually, to understand why. She understood it. She wrote books about it. Her father read some of them. He said they were very good, which she knew to mean that they were accurate, because Alexander did not offer the specific praise for the specific thing unless the specific thing deserved it. Zofia made the specific 1992 trip to Lviv, the same trip described elsewhere in this account, at her father's request and on his behalf, carrying the specific list of addresses and the specific camera. She was a historian of the specific region. She had studied the specific city. She had written about its specific complicated history in the specific academic form that the specific scholarly work required. She arrived in Lviv knowing more about it, in certain specific ways, than she had ever known about any city she had actually lived in. She also arrived as her father's daughter, carrying the specific weight of the specific personal commission, the specific bring back photographs, the specific see what you can find. She carried both simultaneously. She photographed a specific apartment building from every angle, not only as the specific historian documenting the specific architectural survival of the specific structure, but also as a specific daughter finding the specific place that her specific father had described to her and that she was now standing in front of a specific first time. She brought the photographs back to Warsaw. She spread them on the kitchen table. Her father looked at them for a long time without speaking. Then he said, "The park is smaller than I remembered. Or I was smaller. Probably I was smaller." She said later that this was a specific response she had most hoped for, not because it was a specific dramatic response, not because it was a specific emotional resolution of the specific 50-year absence, but because it was a specific honest response to a specific man encountering the specific real thing rather than the specific remembered thing, and finding them somewhat different, and making the specific honest small joke about which of the two was likely responsible for the specific difference. It was, she said, her father's specific most characteristic self, and she had been afraid that the specific photographs might produce something more dramatic, less him, and they had not. The park was smaller than he remembered, or he had been smaller. Probably he had been smaller. He died in 1997. Zofia keeps the photographs. She has also, in the specific context of the specific academic work, visited Lviv multiple times since 1992, returning to the specific city in the specific professional capacity that the specific academic work requires. She visits the specific apartment building when she is there. She visits the specific park. She said once, in a conference paper on the specific topic of geographic loss and displaced identity in post-war Central Europe, that she found the specific experience of visiting her father's specific places as a scholar, with a specific professional distance that the specific scholarly framing provides, was a specific, most complicated form of the specific visiting, simultaneously the most equipped and the most personally invested, the most knowledgeable and the most unable to be simply objective. She manages this. She is a historian of the specific borderlands. She carries her father's woe inside the specific professional work that studies the specific places like Lwów. She visits the specific park. She counts the trees. She does not know whether it is smaller than her father remembered, but she suspects he was right, that he had been smaller. The specific question that Alexander's story poses, the specific question about what constitutes home when the specific geographic home is permanently unavailable, is one of the most fundamental questions that the specific displacement of the specific 20th century produced. And the specific answer that Alexander arrived at across the specific 5 decades of the specific Warsaw life is one worth examining directly. He never said, in the specific accounts his daughter has preserved, that Warsaw had become home. He said, on various occasions and in various formulations, that Warsaw was where he lived. That Warsaw was where his children were from. That Warsaw was a specific city he had built the specific buildings in and had walked the specific streets of for specific 50 years. But home was a specific word he reserved, consistently and without exception, for Lwów, the specific city that the specific photograph showed the specific park of, the specific park that was smaller than he had remembered, the specific fidelity to the specific word, the specific refusal to transfer the specific word home from the specific place it belonged to the specific place he had built his life, was not, his daughter was careful to emphasize, the specific refusal to inhabit the specific Warsaw life. He had inhabited it fully. He had built apartment buildings in it. He had raised children in it. He had buried Maria in it. When she died in 1992, 2 months before Zofia made the specific Lviv trip, he had lived in Warsaw, completely and genuinely, for 50 years. He had simply not called it home. And the specific distinction between the specific city where you live and the specific city that is home was, for Alexander, the specific most honest distinction available, and he maintained it because he was a man who believed in the specific honest accounting of the specific things. And the specific honest accounting required the specific acknowledgement that the specific home was the specific place where you would have lived if the specific war had not rearranged the specific world, and that the specific city where you build your life in the specific rearranged world is a different and real and genuine thing. But it is not the specific same thing, and calling it the specific same thing would be the specific lie. The specific other Poles of his generation who had come from the specific Eastern territories and who had ended up in the specific New Poland. The specific hundreds of thousands who had made the specific same journey through the specific same displacement handled the specific question differently. Some of them transferred the specific word home to the specific new city with the specific speed and the specific completeness that the specific practical necessity required. Some of them refused to transfer at all, maintaining throughout their lives a specific formal position that the specific New Poland was a specific temporary arrangement, and that the specific return would eventually come, even as the specific decades passed and the specific return did not. Alexander's position was somewhere between these. He did not expect a return. He had given up the specific expectation fairly early on as the specific honest assessment of the specific probabilities, and he had built the specific Warsaw life as the specific permanent life, not as a specific waiting room, but he had kept the specific word home where it belonged. This is, I think, one of the more instructive specific distinctions in any story of exile and displacement. The specific difference between the specific building of the specific new life, which is a specific necessary and the specific possible thing, and the specific transfer of the specific identity's primary allegiance to the specific new place, which is a specific different, and the specific harder thing, in which some people accomplish and some do not, and the specific not accomplishing, of which is not the specific failure, but simply the specific honest accounting of the specific particular attachment. Alexander built a specific life in Warsaw. He never called Warsaw home. Both were true. Both were him. The specific city that Alexander called home, the specific Lwów, the specific 1930s, the specific Polish city with the specific Polish streets and the specific Polish park that had been smaller then, exists now only in two forms: in the specific memories and the specific accounts of specific people who knew it in that form before the specific war, and in the specific historical record that the specific historians like Zofia have assembled from those memories and accounts. The specific city that occupies the specific same geographic coordinates is a different city, Lviv, capital of a different country, carrying a different identity and a different history and a different relationship to the specific Polish past that Alexander's woe was the specific continuation of. Both exist. They are in different registers of existence. Alexander spent 50 years living in the specific gap between them, belonging fully to neither the specific Warsaw he had built his life in nor the specific Lwów that had become the specific Lviv, and carrying that specific gap with the specific particular grace of the specific man who understands that some losses do not have resolutions, that some specific gaps in the specific world simply persist, and that the specific living with the specific gap is the specific available form of the specific life, and that the specific available form is worth having even when it is not the specific desired form. He counted the days of his captivity. He built apartment buildings in Warsaw. He raised Stanislav and Zofia. He buried Maria. He looked at Zofia's photographs and said the park was smaller than he remembered, or he had been smaller. He died in 1997 in Warsaw, having never returned to Lwów. That is a specific full accounting of the specific particular grace. Maria deserved her own fuller accounting in this story, because the brief mention she has received so far does not do justice to the specific particular thing she was. The specific engineer from Krakow who had processed her own specific geographic loss, and who brought that processing with her to the specific Warsaw and to the specific Alexander. She was not, by the specific accounts of the people who knew her in Warsaw, the specific simple, cheerful person who had simply decided to be happy in the specific circumstances. She was a specific, clear-eyed person who had looked at the specific circumstances, recognized them for what they were, recognized the specific loss for what it was, and then decided, with a specific deliberateness of someone making a specific deliberate decision rather than the specific automatic optimism of someone who has not fully looked at the specific difficulty, to build the specific life in the specific available place rather than spending the specific life waiting for the specific, impossible return. She had stood in the doorway of the Krakow apartment, the specific apartment that was the specific same address and the specific different place, and she had understood that the specific Krakow of her specific childhood was gone as completely as Alexander's Lwów was gone, even though Krakow was still accessible and Lwów was not, because the specific thing that had been taken was not the specific geography, but the specific world inside the specific geography, and worlds do not survive intact. Through the specific things that the specific war had done to the specific Central Europe of the specific 1939 through 1945, she moved to Warsaw. She found Alexander. She recognized in him the specific person who was carrying the specific heavier version of the specific same loss. Heavier because the specific geography was also inaccessible, not just the specific world inside it. And she understood what the specific carrying required, having done the specific version of herself, and she helped him do it. Their specific 49-year marriage was, by the specific accounts of the specific children who observed it, the specific marriage of two people who had each arrived in a specific city not as the specific natural inhabitants of the specific city, but as the specific deliberate builders of the specific life in the specific city, and who had found in each other the specific recognition of the specific same project and the specific companion for the specific project that the specific project required. She died in 1992, 2 months before Zofia went to Lviv. This timing. That Maria did not survive to see the photographs, to sit at the specific kitchen table when Alexander looked at them and said the park was smaller than he had remembered, is a specific detail that his daughter returned to most often when speaking about the specific end of her parents' specific lives. Maria had helped Alexander inhabit Warsaw for 44 years. She had not been there for the specific moment that was in some sense the specific completion of the specific project, the specific confrontation with the specific real photographs of the specific real woe, the specific acknowledgement by the specific man that the specific park was different from the specific memory, that he had been smaller and the park was the same. Alexander looked at the photographs in 1992 without Maria. He managed, he said the specific thing he said about the park. He died 5 years later. He was buried in Warsaw, next to Maria. They are both in Warsaw. Neither of them came from Warsaw. The specific city received them both, and they built the specific lives in it, and they are buried in it. And the specific children they raise in it carry the specific woe, and the specific Krakow as the specific family's specific mythology of origin. The specific park in Lviv is the same size it was in 1939. Subscribe and share this story with someone who has ever called a city home and then lost access to that home. Through war, through displacement, through the specific arbitrary redrawing of the specific lines that the specific powerful draw through the specific lives of the specific other people. Their loss is a specific real loss. The specific word home matters. The specific holding of the specific word in the specific correct place, even when the specific place is unavailable, is a specific honest accounting. Alexander held the specific word in the specific correct place for 50 years. He built a life in Warsaw and called Lwów home. Both were true. He was buried in Warsaw. The park is the same size it was in 1939. That is the full accounting of the war prisoner who came home to a country that no longer existed. The specific broader question that Alexander's story poses, the specific question of what the specific word home actually means when the specific place has become inaccessible, is a question the 20th century forced on more people than any previous century had, and it deserves direct engagement before this episode closes. The specific conventional understanding of home, the specific place where the specific person was born or grew up, the specific geography of the specific origin that the specific ordinary life maintains, assumes the specific accessibility of the specific place. Home is a specific place you can return to in this understanding. It is a specific address that accepts you back. It is the specific streets that remember your face and the faces of the specific older neighbors who have known you since you were young. Alexander's Lwów refused this understanding. It was there. It would not accept him back. It was his home by the specific conventional definition, the specific place where he had been born, where he had been young, where the specific streets had known his face. And it was simultaneously the specific inaccessible place, the specific address behind the specific line that the specific political settlement had drawn, requiring the specific permissions that were not available to him, and then available in the specific form that had arrived too late. He maintained the specific word home for Lwów anyway, not as a specific nostalgic gesture, not as a specific refusal to accept the specific reality, as a specific honest description of the specific actual thing. Home was where his origin was, where the specific park was the specific size. He had been smaller than where the specific apartment building stood in the specific street he had walked as a child. Home was a specific accurate word for the specific place, regardless of whether the specific place was currently accessible. This understanding, that home is a specific place that has a specific claim on you, regardless of whether you currently inhabit it or whether the specific political arrangements permit the specific return, is a specific understanding that the specific displaced people of the specific 20th century produced from the specific experience of the specific loss, and it is a more specific and more honest understanding of the specific word than the specific conventional. 1. Because it acknowledges that the specific connection between the specific person and the specific place is the specific real thing, and that the specific political accessibility or inaccessibility of the specific place does not determine the specific reality of the specific connection. The specific Poles who came from Lwów and Wilno, and the specific other eastern territories, the specific hundreds of thousands who had ended up in the specific New Poland or in the specific West, and who had maintained, some of them for the rest of their lives, the specific identification of specific inaccessible cities as their specific cities were not the specific irrational people clinging to the specific impossible. They were the specific honest people maintaining the specific accurate description of the specific thing. Their home was their home. The specific political settlement had not changed that. It had only changed the specific accessibility. Alexander maintained the specific accuracy. He called Warsaw where he lived and called Lwów home. He was a specific, honest man in the specific, most precise sense of the specific word honest. He named the specific things correctly, even when the specific naming was a specific, less comfortable naming, even when the specific, more comfortable naming, calling Warsaw home, accepting the specific new geography as a specific, complete replacement for the specific original, was available and was what the specific surrounding culture generally preferred. He named the specific things correctly. He built a specific life in Warsaw. He died in Warsaw. He called Lwów home until the end. That is a specific lesson his story holds for anyone who has ever been told that the specific place they cannot return to is a specific past they need to let go of, that the specific acceptance of the specific new geography is a specific healthy thing, that the specific holding of the specific old geography is the specific resistance that prevents the specific moving forward. Alexander's specific 50 years in Warsaw argue, specifically and quietly, against the specific conventional wisdom. He built as complete a life as was available to him. He did not let the specific holding of Lwów prevent the specific building of the specific Warsaw. He did both. Both were possible. Neither prevented the other. He held Lwów. He built Warsaw. He named the specific things correctly. That is enough. That is the full accounting. There is one specific final image from Alexander's account, one specific detail from the specific memoir fragments that his daughter assembled, that I want to end this episode with, because it carries a specific full weight of the specific, particular loss in the specific, most compressed available form. He described, in a fragment written sometime in the 1970s, the specific recurring dream he had about Lwów. Not the specific dramatic dream, not the specific bomb city or the specific dramatic loss, the specific ordinary dream. He was walking through the specific park. The specific park was the specific, exact size. It had always been in his memory. The specific light was the specific particular afternoon light of the specific particular season. Late September, he thought, or early October. That Lwów had in the specific years before the specific war. The specific sounds were the specific park sounds. He walked through the specific park in the dream, in the specific ordinary way of a man walking through his own city in his own ordinary life. And there was nothing remarkable about any of it except that it was all exactly right. He would wake from a dream, he wrote, in the specific condition of the specific person who has been in the specific right place and has had to come back. Not grief. Exactly. He was careful about this distinction. Not grief, which was a specific acute feeling of the specific recognized absence. Something quieter and more persistent. The specific particular awareness that the specific right place existed and was not accessible, and that the specific dream had been the specific most complete version of the specific access he was going to have. He called this condition in the fragment by the specific Portuguese word, saudade, a longing for something that may never return, or that may never have been, held not with despair, but with a specific, particular bittersweet acceptance of someone who knows what they have lost, and who does not require the specific loss to be anything other than what it is. He had learned the word from a book. He had found it, he said, more accurate than any word available in Polish or in German, the two languages of a specific captivity, for the specific thing he was carrying. He used the specific Portuguese word for the rest of his life, for the specific Polish feeling that the specific loss of the specific Polish city had produced in him. The park was the right size in a dream. He woke up. He went to work. He built apartment buildings in Warsaw. He held Lwów. He built Warsaw. He dreamed the specific park. He named the specific things correctly. That is enough. That is the full accounting of the war prisoner who came home to a country that no longer existed, who counted the days of his captivity, found his country gone, and spent 50 years learning to live inside the specific gap between where he was and where his home was, with the specific grace of the specific man who understands that some losses do not resolve, and who names them honestly anyway. The specific counting, the 5 years, 3 months, and 11 days of specific captivity, is the specific detail that opens this episode, and that deserves to close it, because it contains, in compressed form, the specific character of the specific man whose specific story this is. He counted because the specific counting was the specific honest accounting of the specific thing taken. He applied the same specific principle to the specific woe, the specific honest acknowledgement of the specific thing taken, maintained for 50 years without the specific softening of the specific, comfortable alternative names. Warsaw is home now. You need to move on. Let it go. He did not let it go. He called it what it was. He called the specific counting by the specific number. He called the specific home by the specific name of the specific home. He called Warsaw the specific place he lived. He called Saudade the specific word for the specific feeling, because the specific word was a specific correct word, and the specific available words in the specific available languages were not the specific correct words for the specific thing. He was precise. He was honest. He counted the days, named the places correctly, found the right word for specific feeling, and spent 50 years building the specific life in the specific city that was not home while never pretending that it was. That is the full character. That is the full accounting. That is the war prisoner who came home to a country that no longer existed. He counted, he named, he built, he dreamed the park. The park is still there. He is not. The specific woe of the specific 1930s is not. Zofia visits. Subscribe and share this story with anyone who carries a place they cannot return to. The carrying is real. The naming of it honestly is the specific form of the specific respect the specific loss deserves. He named it correctly until the end. The specific word saudade, the specific Portuguese word Alexander found for specific Polish feeling, has been adopted into the specific academic literature on displacement and exile as one of the more precise available terms for the specific condition of the specific exiled person's relationship to the specific inaccessible home. Not grief, which implies an ended relationship. Not nostalgia, which implies a simple and often sentimental longing for the past. Saudade, the specific active awareness of the specific absence of the specific thing that has a specific permanent claim on you, held with a specific acceptance that the specific thing will not return, without the specific denial of the specific claim. Alexander found the specific word in the specific book. He kept the specific word. He used it for the rest of his life. He named the specific feeling correctly. He called Lwów home. He built Warsaw. He counted the days. His daughter Zofia visits Lviv for her academic work. She visits the apartment building. She visits the park. She counts the trees when she is there in the specific way of the historian who cannot resist the specific verification of the specific detail. The park has the specific number of trees it has always had. The park is the same size. Her father had been smaller. She is smaller than she thinks too. Probably everyone is in the specific park that persists after the specific person who named it home is gone.